So today I had my child support hearing, and I just got back, and it went about exactly the way that I kind of anticipated. With basically me saying a bunch of things that should be common sense, and the judge just saying, "Well," or magistrate, whatever she it was, basically just saying, um, the law says this is how we're going to do it, and I'm up there, I'm in there telling the judge how the mother hasn't worked. That's what the whole thing was about. I've had shared parenting for years now, and even before that, I was very involved in the kids' lives, paying child support, having to work second jobs just to pay the child support, second and third jobs at times, and um, so it basically just kind of reiterated what I already. It just drove home what I already knew because I've already had a consultation with a lawyer before, and you know, basically she said the same thing. There's like, maybe we can go for a modification, but terminating the child support, even though the children live with you half the year, even though they ask you for things, even when they're still with the mother, even though you still do things with them when they're with the mother. If my son has a wrestling meet, if I can make it, I still do my best to try to get there. Or if my other son has a basketball game, even when he's with his mother, I still do things like that. And I mean, I've coached their sports. Well, I mean, this is fantasy or flag football. It's not that serious. But point is, I've had them in several activities while they were with me. I have spent, if I had to take a guess, I probably spend more on them when they're with me than the child support itself. So obviously, I just don't pay the child support, and then it ends up in this vicious cycle where they just keep stealing my tax refunds, and I'm just like, well, I'm not going to pay it. So now, and then I get in trouble as a result. I've got several documents, with them threatening, just harassing and bullying me, because I have the court order that I can't get rid of. The only way I can get rid of it is either an act of Congress or I have to get sole custody. And people are like, well, why don't you do that? And I would do that, but that's not as easy as it sounds. With all the men I know that are 10, 20, 30, 40, 50,000, up to $100,000 and trying to get sole custody to get out of this crap. And then lawyer fees and the court costs and all, and paying for the woman's lawyer too, or paying for the other person's lawyer as well. So it ends up being this thing where it's like you don't even want to go that route because you could end up in a worse position than what you're already in. And that's not the best. It's a vicious, corrupt system that is literally designed so that you cannot get out of it. So, yeah, I could go try to do sole custody, but with the intent of nobody paying anybody anything, the kids live with me, and the mother can still see the children whenever she wants, right? Like we can do that, but they're not going to go for that because it's all about forcing people to pay into this system. And I'm sick of it. I mean, I guess I actually am going to have to do that. And I'm just going to have to sit my sons down and explain to them, look, I'm not trying to move you school districts. I'm not trying to do that. Even though my one son said he wants to be homeschooled now. I said, dude, we can definitely make that happen. We know how to do that. We know how to do that. Um, so, but it's gotten to the point where I'm just going to have to sit my sons down and say, look, I'm not trying to take you from your mom or anything like that, but this is ridiculous, and this is the only way that your dad can. Because my kids don't like this either. We don't talk about this kind of stuff. Every once in a while, it might, something might come up to where it, we touch the surface of like very like vaguely um, about this stuff, but I don't talk about their mother or not anything like that. But But like I say, it's going to get to the point where I have to sit them down and express to them, like, look, your dad has to do this. And because that's really your only option. Your only option is to get sole custody. That's the only way out of child support in Ohio. Or literally convince the corrupt government, Congress, that what they're doing is wrong. I can get as many petitions as I want to. It doesn't mean they're going to change anything. And not that I'm not willing to try, not that I'm not going to try. It's been in my plans for years now to petition these things and get these laws changed because, when you're dealing with the court system, in their mind, it's like, well, I mean, well, not in their mind, but in the way that the court system works, like if you're trying to present a case to a jury or a judge, typically what you use in a lot of these situations is previous case law to support your argument is how you win a case. Well, and because my case is in Ohio, I live in Kentucky now, so I understand. I talk about it and hear about it all the time. That if you had shared parenting, joint custody in Kentucky, then you wouldn't pay anything. I said, well, how lovely is that, right? So basically, I had my kids in the wrong place, but the reason I bring that up is to say that when they talk about case law to help your argument, well, I'd say, well, I'll do you one better. How about state law? How about the fact that entire states are recognizing that when parents have 50-50 custody, nobody should be paying anybody anything because they're already contributing to the child. I mean, so it ends up being a situation where you can't even say a rock in a hard place. It is, you're just in a hopeless, hopeless situation to where, and in order to combat it, in order to fight it, you have to literally miss time off work. Like today, I didn't know how long this thing was going to be. So what did I have to do? I have to call off work, and then the woman, their mother hasn't worked in over 10 years. So it ends up being this insane situation. I'm sitting there when I sit in these hearings, I sit there and think about this. When I have to call off, I go, the only person losing money to sit here right now and waste their time is me. The lawyers aren't they're getting paid. The judge is getting paid. The woman's not working. So not in all cases, but in my case, like the mother's not working. So she's not losing any money to be here. The only person that just keeps getting screwed is me. Over and over and over again. And they say, well, you should have chose better. I'm like, look, that has nothing to do with how we proceed after the fact. Mistakes that doesn't give them the right to sit here and blackmail me and extort money from me. And when I say extort money from me, I mean that in every sense of the word. Even if I didn't have shared parenting, what they are doing is still wrong. When you look at it from the perspective of having me pay more child support because I make more money. I'll tell the story quickly. Years ago, when my sons were like around, so now they're 14 and 13. When my sons were around 4 and 3, somewhere around that age, I was dating a girl whose father was a judge at the time. And I remember back then, so I had already been in the system just barely at this point, but long enough for me to understand that this is wrong, right? So I'm over at the judge's, my girl's house, and we're kind of having like a little dinner, and they're like welcoming me in, and I already knew that the father was a judge. Her dad was a judge, but I did not know what type of judge that he primarily focused in. And then somehow it ended up coming up that he mostly dabbled in family court and things of that nature. And I remember what set this whole thing off was that I kind of made a look of disgust. I was like, oh, because I'm like, he said something. He's like, well, what's that look all about? But I'm like, I said, man, I just think, I didn't say I think. I said, man, this system is just completely wrong. The way they operate, the way that they go about their business is completely wrong. And so he hit me with the whole, little condescending, like, well, you got to take care of your kids, buddy. You know what I mean? And I looked at him. I said, no. That has nothing to do with me. Me paying child support has nothing to do with me wanting to take care of my kids or not. It doesn't have a damn thing to do with that. And I told him what this has to do is the way that you guys are going about your business. It's unethical. It's predatory. It's discriminatory toward non-custodial parents. It is unconstitutional, and in several ways, it is unconstitutional. And I ended up giving him an example. I said, sir, for instance, if you and I went to a Toyota dealership and you were looking to buy a car and I was looking to buy a car at the same time, and assuming we had the exact same credit score, and the salesman comes out, he takes the applications, goes in the back, crunching some numbers, comes back out and says, okay, guys, here's what I discovered. You say, me, Mr. West, he said, if he comes out, he says, okay, so Mr. West, we're going to charge you what this car is valued at $28,000, okay? Because, that's what it's valued at. That's what we're going to charge you, bringing your monthly payments to blah, blah, blah. And they say, okay, Mr. So-and-so, but what we discovered is for you make 4 times the amount of Mr. West here. So what we're going to do is we're going to charge you 4 times the amount, if not more, for the same vehicle. I said, sir, would you say that is right or that's wrong? And he go, well, no, that wouldn't be right. And then he said some other things, and then, then the night ended. I don't remember how it all ended, but the night ended. And so what I do remember is the following weekend, same Sunday, or not the same Sunday, the following Sunday, we're back at their house, and this judge has not said a word to me. Not a hey, how you doing? Nothing. So I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, okay, well, I must have really pissed this guy off. I said so, but it is what it is. I spoke my truth. That's what I know. That's right in the pit of my soul. I know that that's right. So, after like 45 minutes to an hour goes by, and he kind of gives me this look. He's like, hey, so you got a minute? I'm gonna talk to you. And in my mind, I'm thinking, oh shit. I'm like, I must have really pissed this guy off because, but like I said, I'm like, I don't even care. But I'm like, yeah, what do you want to talk about? And he's like, I got to tell you something. He's like, I've been thinking about that conversation that we had last week, and I got to be honest with you. I've been practicing law for a long time. He said, I've been almost 20 years, man. I've been practicing law for almost 20 years, and I gotta be real with you. That's probably the most compelling argument that I've ever heard when it comes to this stuff. And I got to be honest with you, it's made me kind of rethink about how I go about my business as a judge. It's kind of made me rethink how I see things when I'm dealing with these cases now. And then I'll never forget, he said, and I got to be honest with you. He's like, you're right. It is wrong to do that. And I remember I said something along the lines of, thank you, but the problem is that people like me have to go in to people like you's courtrooms So guys like you's courtrooms. We have to sit there and be told to shut up, don't speak, speak when spoken to, have to be talked down to, belittled, talked to like children, and talk to as if we're the ones that are wrong when all the time we know we're the ones that are right. What you're doing is what's wrong. You know how frustrating that is? To be sit there and chastise and talk down to, and you got to take care of your kid. You got to do this and do that. I'm like, they're my kids. What are you even worried about this for? Let me worry about it. Like you can step off. So, I mean, I didn't say all that last part, but I the first part I did. And this is how we end up in this situation where you have people just not basically being blackmailed and involved in this extortion scam countrywide. It's not even country. This is, I don't want to say, I guess it's worldwide. Australia, all these other places, same things. Same things. And people have been put in this damn box. They put you in this box and say, don't think outside of it, right? And what it does is it creates complacency. Oh, well, you can't fight them. What are you going to do? You got to take it on the chin, buddy, right? So, damn, water's boiling. Hold on a second. Okay. I had to make sure. It was confusing me for a second. I'm like, was I just talking all that time and that damn thing wasn't recorded? I was about to be pissed. No, we good though. But anyway, okay, where was I? The judge, and okay, yeah, so yeah, and just like, so yeah, so this is happening all over the world, the globe. They are extorting people for money, and it's happening on levels where this program was only intended to help people who would fall into poverty without this assistance, and somehow we've got people who are both making hundreds of thousands of dollars in this system. It makes no sense at all. We have millionaires and billionaires caught up in this shit, and it makes no sense at all. Why? There is involvement from the government when it comes to these things. I know why, but it takes a long time to explain it because it goes into the corruption. It goes all the way down to signing the birth certificate. It goes all the way down to the social security number about how they're really property of the state. But I'm not even going to get into all that right now. But I'm aware of it. Just know that. That gives them the right to do these things. And like I told, and just some more examples of the whole extortion thing. It's like, nobody in their right mind would be okay if you had to pay more for everyday goods or your children than somebody else simply because you decided you're going to be a hard-working individual. And then you get trapped into the system, right? Because like maybe not in my case, but this is very common. Now, of course, every state is different, but it is very common that if a man or a woman starts working a second job, and then they go and they adjust these payments, or you were working that second job. What is this square? I'm trying to find my face. That's weird. That wasn't there before. Get out of the way. Well, maybe I need that thing. Anyway, so lost my train of thought. What the hell was I saying? Hold on. I think I was going about the being. Yeah, that's what I was saying about the being charged extra to raise your kids because you've worked hard. Oh yeah. Now I know. Okay, so for instance, you got these guys and women too, I'm sure, that get trapped into their second job. And then you think that the judge is going to be like, no, we're not going to do that. He's already paying, and we're not going to. Case in point would be one of the ones I just listened to last week. I've heard two of just like this since then, but because I've been listening to these court cases online, These are real court cases. I think this one was in Michigan, but the guy had a side job for 5 years, and he just was burnt out. He's like, I don't want to work two jobs anymore, man. I'm done with it. So he goes to court. He has a lawyer, and he's there. The lawyer's doing all the talking. He's like, dude, there's no way that my client should be forced to pay child support based off of him working two jobs. It's like, are you nuts? Are you nuts? And then, so you, and I remember this specific one, I'm sitting there listening to it. I'm thinking, okay, the judge hasn't, she's asked some questions, been some confused about some things. So, but in my mind, I'm like, okay, clearly this college educated woman is going to see the common sense here, right? And 18 minutes, I'll never forget, 18 minutes into the video, she comes out with it. Like, yeah, no, you quitting that job on purpose because you don't want to pay this and that, and the law says that I got to do, you gonna pay, and somehow the lawyer was shocked. I know the client was shocked. Somehow the lawyer's like, what? The lawyer was like, dude, this is the silliest shit I've ever heard of. You're trapping my client into paying child support based off the fact that he's working two jobs? She's like, yep. And if you don't like it, you can try to appeal, but I'm telling you, they're going to tell you the same thing because it's the law. Not. Have a good day, guys. And they just roll on out. They roll on out as if they have no conscience at all about this shit. And why it pisses me off so badly is because I think about myself. Now, I'm not a perfect individual by any stretch. I definitely have made my mistakes. I'm still making mistakes. Sometimes I still kick myself. But the one thing that I will not do is I stand on what I believe in. Meaning, and it's so funny. I actually heard another gentleman speak on the same exact thing like a couple days ago. I was like, I know I'm not the only one that believes that and thinks that way, but like he and I both have made almost verbatim the same exact point that there's a reason why I would never join the military. And the reason I would never join the military is because I don't have it in me to blindly follow orders without knowing the reasons behind why I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm not built that way. And I'd rather die. I'm not built that way. So what I mean by that, in theory, a government can give me a piece of paper in the military and say, go shoot this lady standing next to those 3 kids of hers and just put one right in between her eyes, and because the government said so. And yes, I guess technically you can just refuse to do it and then deal with the consequences later. But you're going to be court-martialed, right? So in theory, even though nobody can force you to go over there, the point is that you're expected to do it without asking questions. And if you don't do it, you will be reprimanded. And that is it's the single reason why I could never have been in the military, because I can't do that. Same thing with a police officer. Now, I could be a police officer, but I might lose my job over some things because, for instance, like in my situation, if I was my neighbor, say I'm the neighbor and I was a police officer of myself. So I live here, okay, no, we had to change. So let's say somebody else lives here and I'm a police officer that lives next door. And I develop a relationship with my neighbor, and I see him with his kids every day in the backyard throwing football, much like myself. Driving his kids 40 minutes to school on the weekdays with him because he's want to keep them in the same school, much like myself. Not to pat my own self on the back, but if I'm witnessing all this as a cop, and I know the whole story, and they're like, and the person, the hypothetical me is refusing to pay child support on principle, and I see him over, and I know what this is all about, and I know he takes care of his kids, and his kids come to him even when they're with the mom, and they told me to go arrest this man because he's not. I'm not doing it. I said, you can fire me. I'm not doing it. I'm not a perfect person, but some things I stand on principle. I'm not going to go arrest this good father. You can find somebody else to do it, or you can fire my ass because I'm not doing it. And these judges are the same way. These judges sit in these damn courtrooms day after day after day, case after case after case, and they hear these court hearings, and they watch people get all emotional because they just got screwed. They know if they have any type of soul, they have to know. My pot's boiling again. They have to know that what they're doing in a lot of these cases is not right, right? But they're acting within the confines of the law, right? Like my Bengals coach, me too. We're gonna get them next year. And they're doing it with a clear conscience because they've convinced themselves that they're well. To be honest, I don't even know how can they convince themselves that they're doing what's best for the child when you have a father who you can see is clearly involved in his kids' lives, and you're still extorting money from this person, and you're pretending as if it has something to do with the betterment of the child. When in a lot of cases they openly admit that they're not a friend of the family, they're a friend of the court. They don't they don't care about your children. They don't care about our children. And I have witnessed this firsthand. I've seen this throughout the internet world of people just like me, and I'm fed up with it. That's why I'm making this video. I'm fed up. I have come to the and that's that I've come to the decision that I'm going to fight this at a higher level. I watch videos of things like this happening to women, and I watch people in the comments. See, I'm a rational person. I'll be a very good referee because I'm fair. Even with my sons, I'm like, I'm the fairest referee you'll ever see. And I always think about how would I feel if I was in this situation and yada yada yada. I put the shoe on the other foot all the time. And I can tell you what's happening to me. If it was happening to my kid's mother, she'd be irate. So that's how I know I'm not wrong. She wouldn't go for this, right? But although I've been prepping for years now to tackle this on a higher level, I'm worried. I'm worried because because when it comes to government, and this is their whole existence is to count on people running out of money. That's why that's why they push lawyers so much. They want you to run out of money so that you can't fight it. In fact, some lawyers will even tell you you're wasting your time. You don't have enough money. I want to help you, but my conscience as a lawyer is telling you like this thing's going to drag out and you don't have enough money to play with. and you're going to lose. And I want somebody to explain to me, in what world is that justice? Give me one planet in the universe where you could call that justice. So this video is being made to, one, raise awareness, two, initiate the petitions to go after the system. And it's not going to be easy, but I have made my mind up. This is what has to be done. And if nobody else, well, I can't say if nobody, people have tried, people have failed. But I don't know if anybody's going to try as hard as me. Because I'm getting ready to hit these streets. I'm getting ready to be spreading awareness. I'm getting ready to make sure that this monster can no longer operate with these cloaks on. So I'm about to do something that I feel very uncomfortable doing, but because it's not the type of person that I am. I hate asking for money and donating and things like that. But this is something that's bigger than me. I don't know if Trump and them are going to make it around to this part of the corruption scam in time. I'm sure they will. Because sooner or later, I mean, they're talking about corruption and all of the different agencies and whatnot, the wasted money. This is the big one. This is the wait till they get to this. It's inevitable. They're going to have to address this. The family court systems and all this. They're going to have to address this because what's going on in these courtrooms, I've been watching it. And it is not just men. It's women too, man. Women, it's happening to women. Women are like, this is garbage. This is garbage. You got people just taking advantage of people left and right and getting away with it because the court gets there. And we know that the courts are getting their cut. And they're getting their kickbacks from the federal government. And I'm sure Trump is going to do something about this. It is inevitable at some point that this gets addressed. But in the meantime, I'm going to do more than my part. And I am going to focus heavily on raising awareness, taking donations, telling my story. I know you're not supposed to, but I mean, I record everything. I go in these courtrooms and I listen to these people talk, and I listen to they have no soul. You can pour your heart out and tell them what this is wrong, I'm going to lose my house over this. They don't care. They just care about the money, and the shit has to stop. You're taking away from my family. When my son, I knew that this day was coming. My son's 14 years old. I had planned to have his own car ready for him by the time he was ready to drive. And because of this corrupt system, this has made me have to break a promise to my son. Instead of creating generational wealth for my family and making sure that my kids get a head start and making sure all these, I'm stuck in this position now where I'm just fighting to keep my head above water because of these people, so that their kids can go to private school, so that they can make their tea time at 4:30 and have these extravagant lives. And I'm tired of it. I work too hard for somebody to come in here and tell me this is how you're going to spend your money on your kids. Nobody wants to be put on a how to take care of your kids payment program. The states and the federal governments want for a person to take care of their children does not supersede the fundamental, constitutional, God given right for me to decide how to do so. And with that, I'm going to close this video out and make this my first video on the matter. There's going to be, the rest of the videos won't be this long. They're only going to be like maybe 10 minutes at the most. But I wanted to kind of like get a foundation for this platform so that so that people can watch this video and understand where this is going without before and to kind of get a glimpse into me and my situation, but because it's gonna be rough. But all right, thanks for listening, and catch you on the next one.